Hey friends, how's it going? I just wanted to take a second and deliver, if I could, a short video. I'm going to apologize because it's boring. It's just me in my office, but talking about initial quest attractiveness. So I hope that's okay. Um, it's not, quite enough to simply ask a student if they like a learning activity. They may or may not be honest with you, or their answers may be tainted. I think it's more valuable to look beyond the surface and judge their interest in an activity by the way they behave around it. Right? If we just step back and observe the behavior, sometimes we see things differently than we do when we ask questions. So in some recent research in quest-based learning that I conducted, decision data of 97 users in a semester-long quest-based course were analyzed and evaluated using descriptive statistics and data mining of their click behaviors and patterns. Interesting things emerged about the attractiveness of the quest. And the first phase of the attractiveness, evidenced by quest selection, revealed some characteristics that made some quests more attractive than other quests. And so we're interested in those. This data, combined with informal interviews and student responses, contributed to the following pedagogical considerations for attractive quest design. First, attractive artwork. While it's not possible to tell the whole story with a quest icon image, it is possible to gain enough interest and attention to lead them to the selection. And that first phase is all about the selection. So Walt Disney was famous for saying, what you need is a weenie, which is to say something that beckons you to come this way. Now, it's a little creepy the way he says it, but let's remember that this was the 40s and the 50s, and people said things, well, differently. So his idea was a sound one. I mean, at the end of Main Street, you have this beautiful Cinderella's castle. So you're drawn to it. You say, oh, okay. And, of course, in Disneyland, they use this idea of vanishing perspective, which you're probably familiar with. Or, excuse me, that vanishing line, that forced perspective is what they call it, where the buildings at the end of Main Street are just as tall as the ones at the front of Main Street. But they have 5 floors, where the ones at the front of Main Street where you're standing only have 2. Well, why is that? Well, it makes the street look much, much longer. Again, he's always drawing your attention and drawing your interest in a specific direction. So when you get to the castle, you look through the castle and you see a merry-go-round. You're always being drawn in a direction. I love that principle of design. He's the #1 Imagineer, of course. So an attractive quest icon can do that. I mean, if it captures even an inkling of the adventure that awaits within the quest, you win. So additionally, reuse of icons within a family can motivate students to complete more of those activities. So careful icon and artwork selection is really important in attractive quest design. So if they had a pleasant experience with one of your quests that has a certain type of icon, a similar or the same icon will also attract them to at least look further into that quest and select it. So consider reusing them. If you were in Disneyland and you liked one of the Adventureland rides, you're more likely to stick around in Adventureland because that was a fun place. So how about a catchy title? Which of these is more of a compelling title? The characteristics of attractive quest-based learning design, or Level Up, Noob? I think the second. Certainly the former is more descriptive, but the latter may be a little bit more interesting, veiled, and exciting. You don't have to give it all away in the title. It doesn't have to be picture perfect. It simply needs to attract them to click it and to look a little bit more. So catchy, over-detailed in title design. No title can accurately describe all of the details of the quest, so don't try. If your interest and your desire is to get them interested in that activity, then it's to get them to click on that quest and open it up and read more of the description. Again, what you need is a weenie. So experience points are interesting in the selection and attractiveness of a quest. So the value should fit nicely within the scope of the other representative values, the expected time to be spent and a relative ease or difficulty. So the XP value should represent all of those things, the least of which is the ease or value. And the reason is because you have students that have a different value. I mean, so an activity may be easy to one and difficult to another. So if it doesn't have a lot of experience points and it's really difficult to complete, it can be a demotivator. So if that element is the least of your considerations, I think you'll do well. But our research showed that quests that were more attractive had higher experience point values, largely because folks wanted to get to those major levels. They were looking for more bang for their buck, and they were more attractive. So higher XP value is more attractive. This can be a tricky proposition, however, because you can inflate the economy, as it were. You can devalue other quests by really boosting the XP on one. So I would suggest assigning XP values that are proportional, that to the value of that quest within the narrative of the full course. If there are artifacts that are more, I guess, enigmatic of the process of the course that they're in, those can have higher values. If you have to inflate a quest XP to get people to complete that quest, it's probably better to look at that quest again and maybe redesign it so that it is in itself more attractive. It's still imperative that you monitor these values and be willing to change them throughout, as a quest might have a high average completion time but a low experience points, and that would be less attractive to users. So time to completion is another characteristic of quest design. Now, you don't determine this. It's determined by the users, but you ought to keep an eye on it. It's maybe the most influential part of quest attractiveness, right? The average time to completion. Users recognizing the amount of time that they have will select activities that fit that availability. And if a student has, say, 30 minutes before they have to go to work or to practice or to the next class, a quest that averages about 19 minutes would be more attractive. So shorter is better in quest design. Running the decision tree analysis, we were able to determine that quests that averaged more than 49 minutes were significantly less attractive. Those that were shorter than 29 minutes, but at least 50 experience points, were still very, very attractive. So pedagogically, there is a minor, a small value, there's a value in smaller average time commitments for quests, at least in their initial attractiveness. So consider the size of your quest design. And if the activity or project will take more than between 29 and 49 minutes, or is averaging more than that, consider breaking it into multiple pieces. Then each of those will ultimately be more attractive. So the moral of the story is the initial quest attractiveness plays a really important role in the overall success of a quest-based learning curriculum. As such, it's important to consider whether or not it will be engaging or compelling to your students. Not every student will be attracted to every quest, but recognizing that and designing for that attractiveness serves all your students. I'll add one other piece that's not written here, and that is a description of the quest that gets them to select it. Remember, this initial phase of attractiveness is to draw them into reading more about it and then selecting that activity. So a description that is interesting, compelling, and well written, not necessarily super detailed, will help you with that. So in this quest, you'll see down below the submission details what you'll need to do. Basically, just write a compelling quest description, title, assume an average completion time and an XP. Just kind of build out this and find some cool image on the interwebs to upload. And that's basically what this is about. I hope that this has been entertaining for you, and I hope that this is valuable too.